Everybody has a sixth sense. Everybody has the ability to pull information from beyond the five senses, a kind of personalized ESP. The reason we do is that in the olden days, many thousands of years ago, when we were originally ape men, or we came through those less sophisticated tribal societies, we had the power that nature has, and we used it instead of intellect. When you look at an animal in the forest, it doesn't have intellect and reasoning, but it does have an ability to know when there is danger. It has an ability to use that heightened sense of perception to keep itself safe. In the olden days, tribal people would get into a relationship with nature, and in so doing, they would stimulate this ability of inner knowing. And they had to have that inner knowing in order to survive. Today, in our modern society, we've moved so far from that inner knowing or sixth sense, and we've moved into a heightened state of intellectuality. The thing about intellectuality is that it has to reason through facts, and in doing so, it limits the ability to pick up information that isn't logical, that isn't necessarily from what we would normally consider the practical, factual information that is open to an individual in any one given circumstance. The first time that mankind exhibited intellectuality was when the cave dwellers began to put paintings on the sides of their caves, paintings of animals and nature and the sun and the moon. It was as if those people, seeing reality outside of themselves, began to create an intellectual representation of that reality. Those paintings had measure and form. They had color. They didn't have perspective in those days, but they had color and they had form. And so they intellectualized what they saw outside of themselves, and they put it up on the walls of the cave to act as an affirmation for them. Those tribes needed the animals in order to live, in order to eat. And they felt that if they could paint those animals on their wall, it would help them create a feeling that there would always be food in the family unit or in the tribal unit. It wasn't until a later stage in the development of humanity that intellect really got a grip of things. It has been said that Abraham was the first of the intellectual breed of mankind, that he gave mankind weight, measure, and number, and that he created this heritage of defining in intellectual terms the experience of being a human upon the earth plane. Each one of us has this sixth sense inside of ourselves. And you have had experiences, I'm sure, where you have exhibited an inner knowing without necessarily pulling that information from the storage inside the subconscious mind of the facts that you know. An example that is very common is one when the telephone rings and you know who's on the other end of the line, even though perhaps they're calling you at an odd hour of the time of day, or perhaps you're not even expecting a call from that person. Somehow, as you go to reach that phone, you know who's there. Another example of this inner knowing is sometimes exhibited in the relationship that you have with your body. You will intuitively or instinctively know that there's something wrong, or you will instinctively know what type of nutrition or what type of course of action will assist you to redress the balance in your body when it falls out of sync. Another type of sixth sense that is common to each and all of us is this feeling of knowing when danger approaches. Isn't it true that sometimes when you found yourself in a dangerous situation, or even a situation where you would experience intense uncomfort or embarrassment or difficulty, you've hesitated to go into it? And what you've done is you've somehow picked up the energy or a reading, more or less, of what the probability pattern was, and you've pulled back and you've hesitated. And that hesitation has assisted you in not getting into difficulty.